What's happening, London?
What's going on?
What's up, buddy?
Oh, a lot of drama here in Washington. You know how it is. Let's get your take. I actually kind of just want your take as a player. How long does it take for you to figure out whether a guy can play or can't play?
Especially at quarterback.
Oh, at quarterback, it's a little different. I think with rookies, obviously you see some things in practice and things like that. Possibly 2 years, 3, depending on if the head coach is there for all those years. Other players, you could tell right away if a running back can run with the ball, has instincts, linebacker instincts, things like that. So it just depends on the position. Quarterback takes a little bit longer, definitely.
Now, with RG3, you saw the best of him as a rookie, and he was fantastic. But the last couple of years, you watch the games, you watch film, particularly in the pocket, he doesn't seem comfortable, and he's now been benched 2-3 times.
Yeah. Obviously we all witnessed what Robert was able to do in 2012. I mean, he came in, took the league by storm, became the Rookie of the Year, and then, got injured in that last ball game, the playoff game against Seattle, and, no offseason to develop in the pocket and things like that to make the next step. The maturation process that you would want to see from a quarterback, especially with the type of system that he had run in college, So he hasn't been healthy. We knew it was going to take a process. Coach Shanahan, he mentioned that process, as far as developing Robert to a true pocket passer. It was going to take some years, and, here we are, still a few years down the road. He's gotten better, but I guess not to Jay's liking and not fast enough.
Do you think that Robert has been treated fairly? Forget about, from a public perception standpoint, because I think we've been hard on him at times, probably unfairly so, but just from given an opportunity to play standpoint.
From my communication with Robert, especially after what transpired yesterday, he was blindsided by this. Doesn't feel like everything, they were totally honest with him about the process and where he was at. So I guess in his eyes, he wasn't treated fairly. If you go back to last season, you look at how Jay handled him in that press conference. That's unprecedented for a head coach to handle somebody like that in a press conference in front of media and things like that. So I think Jay just really doesn't really believe in him as a quarterback, and so I don't think he's been handled fairly. He was always going to be looked at under a microscope. His mistakes was going to be viewed bigger than any of the other quarterbacks' mistakes.
Right, but as you said, it might take 2, maybe 3 years to evaluate a quarterback. He's had 37 appearances, 35 starts. I feel like I kind of know where we are with Robert as a player. Do you feel like we do?
I don't think we do. He's still a young guy. I mean, he was 25 years old. How many games did he miss last year? He was injured, 7 games last year. The year before, coming off the injury, missed the whole offseason. So his growth has kind of been stunted by injuries. So I don't think you can truly say, okay, yeah, he's a fourth-year quarterback. But you look at some of the injuries, that has definitely stunted the growth. I saw him in the preseason this year. You can see some improvement in his passes. I mean, in his pocket presence.
You did?
Really? I didn't see
Not
that.
in that second preseason
in the
game.
Cleveland game, not the Detroit game. That was a different story. I mean, there was a lot of different things that took place. But the Cleveland game, he made did some good things in the pocket.
Well, he's capable. I mean, every player in the NFL is capable of making some good plays.
Yeah, they weren't very difficult passes to make in that Cleveland game. I mean, he had the drop by Pierre. That would have been a touchdown. All right, that was a good play. But everything else was kind of just dump-offs, I thought.
Hey, he's running the offense that was called out there,
Well, let me ask you this, London.
The play that was called.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Looks a lot different, though, than the plays that they call for Kirk and
Do
Colt.
you feel like
they called different plays for Kirk.
See, I don't
Do you
believe that.
feel like the Redskins are a better offense with Kirk rather than Robert?
I think you needed to let Robert get a chance to play a longer period of time. Kurt had more playing time in the preseason. Even if you look at the Cleveland game, the Detroit game, this game against Baltimore, he played more in the preseason.
But London, would you acknowledge this? I mean, maybe you're not in the locker room now, like you were just a couple seasons ago. But it seems like from the outside, that the receiving core, the offense, they all seem actually happy with this decision. That they seem frustrated with Robert under center. You would get kind of whispers the offensive line because he's not getting rid of the ball when he should. And the offensive line would get blamed when sometimes it's the quarterback's fault for holding on to the ball too long, not sidestepping, not stepping up in the pocket. It seems like they're on board with this decision.
I think players, they want to play. They want the best guy that they feel is going to give them the best chance to win. The thing that I look at from a standpoint as far as at the quarterback position, we're looking at talking about Robert here as, a guy that the Redskins gave up so much for. You start off the season, maybe you give him 4 or 5 games. Let's see what happens in those 4 or 5 games, because you think about it, he's essentially, I know they did that, they exercised his 5th-year option, but this is a true opportunity to tell, do we have the quarterback of the future? Where do you go from here? Kurt, he's on the last year of his contract. Do you think Kurt's going to be the guy of the future? So I just felt like they should have at least given him a few games to see, if he was going to continue to play or if he would play better.
Can I get your evaluation on some of the other areas of the football team? I've been impressed with Matt Jones. I think anybody that's watched this team play this preseason has been impressed. In fact, I'll be honest with you, I think he looks better and more explosive at this point than Alfred Morris. That's no disrespect to Alfred. That's just an honest objective.
Are they going to start Matt Jones?
I don't think they will, out of deference and respect to Alfred. But I'm just telling you my opinion.
So they don't respect Robert.
Say again? I think
they don't respect Robert.
I don't think they respect Robert's production.
No, they definitely
not
don't.
his playing ability.
I don't think Jay Gruden respects Robert's production. I agree.
London, let me just actually flip this, because you're clearly a Robert guy. What do you think of Kirk as a quarterback?
I like Kirk. I think Kirk has a future, and he'll be a good quarterback as well. There's a situation where you have 3 quarterbacks that have done good things, and Colt, throw Colt in the mix too. He's done some good things as well, in the preseason, then opportunity that he's had. So they all can play in the National Football League. They all can be starters in the National Football League. I just think the different dynamic here with Robert is because you invested so much in him to give up on him without even starting the regular season. That's the only issue and the problem that I have. If you give him 3, 4, 5 games in this start of the 2015 season and he doesn't prove that he can play, then you go with Kurt and, hey, Robert, we've given you an opportunity. We're moving on. But I think Kirk can play football. I don't think he's not a good quarterback.
All right, London, though, I want you to get off the investment thing. Let's say you're an offensive coordinator. You're a head coach. You don't know anything about these guys' previous track record. You just have 3 quarterbacks playing. You want the guy who's going to give you the most points offensively. If you're in that
what was Jay Gruden brought in there to do?
Win football games.
He was brought in there. Hell no. He was brought in there with under the premise to develop Robert Griffin as a quarterback. That's how he got the job. Under the premise that he would develop Robert Griffin as a quarterback. He didn't do it. So what does that say about him?
Listen, I'm no huge Jay Gruden fan, but at the end of the day, Jay Gruden, his number one goal, so you're putting Robert ahead of the team. His number one goal is to win football games. It's not to develop
When they hired Jay Gruden, they put Robert ahead of the team. What are you talking about?
Say again?
Well, because his number one
When they hired Jay Gruden, they put Robert ahead of the team.
No.
In terms of he was the most he needed to develop.
Well, this is what I would say, London. I would say, okay, so he took the job. All right, they gave him $25 million. Anybody would do that. Any first-time coach would take that contract. He told
exactly.
Dan,
absolutely.
Okay, he told Dan Snyder, okay, I can make Robert a better quarterback. He tried. It didn't work.
Did he really try?
Within
1 year, he's tried. So
yeah, and he's realized
you're not a good coach if you can't continue to develop a guy.
Well,
he's not going to get better sitting on the bench as a quarterback.
What if Robert?
You're right. He's not going to get better.
What if Robert is maxed out? His potential at this point.
Then you move on from him. You let him go. Don't hold him on the bench and don't say he has a future with the Washington Redskins when you know he doesn't, because he's not going to get better sitting on the bench. Not at the quarterback position.
Well, London, whatever Jay says, you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt, because he said a lot of things yesterday in the press conference that just weren't true. But the other question is, London, and London, you would know this. He has a relationship with the owner. He's got a better relationship.
Who has a relationship with the owner?
Robert. He does. So maybe that has a lot to do with the fact that he's still on the roster.
But I'm also surprised that London, as a former player, Like, you're in that locker room. Do you really care about developing any other one player? No. You got a limited shelf life. You want to win football games. And there are 52 other guys in that locker room that don't care about any other guy's development.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. Okay, do you think the Redskins are going to win the NFC East?
No, but I think they'll win more with
So at the end of the day, if you win 8 games or if you win 5 games, does it really matter? You haven't won. You haven't made the playoffs, but you still don't know if you have a quarterback of the future.
Well, wait a minute. If you win 8 games with Kirk Cousins, let's assume he plays all year and
you got
wins
a quarterback
8 games,
of the future.
Considering, London, that the Skins won how many total games in the last 2 years?
7.
I think you're making strides.
True.
Even if you don't make the playoffs.
But you've given up on your quarterback. You've given up on
London, let me ask you this.
on the number 2 pick overall. We're not talking about Ryan Leaf here. We're not talking about Achilles Smith here.
If the Redskins release RG3 and he moves on to another team picks him up, do you think he will thrive in the NFL in a new environment?
In the right system, I think he could.
What
if he got with the right system, if he got with Chip Kelly, if he got down, Miami does some things.
So you think
like the Chip Kelly offense, or even if he goes to a place where the pressure is not, where you have to come in here and be the guy right away. Hey, let's continue to refine you, continue to work on your pocket presence and all those things, footwork and things of that nature. I think he'll have a great second half of his career.
Hold on. Let me just clarify this. So you think Miami would potentially sit Ryan Tannehill?
You asked me a question. Miami runs some of the same offense that Chip Kelly does. Bill Lazar, who's the offensive coordinator in Miami, came from Philadelphia.
Right.
Do you know your facts, buddy?
I do. Bill Lazor worked with the Redskins.
Well, hold on, but London, they have a quarterback that threw 27 touchdowns last year.
He's not going to get an opportunity in Miami.
I didn't say he was coming in to start right away. I say continue to the pressure's not there. Just let him develop. He'll learn. He'll continue to develop as a quarterback, get better pocket awareness, better footwork. He's going to have a great second career.
London,
I believe that. He's too talented. He's too talented of a guy.
London, why do we have such a contentious relationship? we should be
I
friends.
don't know. You tell me.
We should be
Who
friends.
am I even talking to?
London's
I don't even know who I'm talking to.
That's right. You got 4 guys.
Hey, you win the bet, GP. You win the bet.
Last time I was on here, you all were having hissy fits and tantrums.
Well,
nothing's changed.
That was you there.
Nothing's changed.
So maybe I don't know how you do that. You all cry every day when you get on the radio. Is that what it is?
It's part of the charm.
I want to go back, and I'm just going to.
You need a nap.
London,
Yes.
You clearly say the Redskins need to develop RG3, and you think they're making the wrong moves because they need to get more time.
This is my take on it. This is my take on it. I think they pulled the trigger. If back in February, you announced that Robert's going to be your starting quarterback going into the opening game of the season. And then, obviously, I'm not in practice. I don't see practice film, stuff like that. From February until yesterday, you say, you know what, I don't like what I saw. Even going into the Baltimore game, if Robert would have been able to play, he was going to be the starting quarterback that game.
Right.
So Kirk goes out. He played a decent game. All right, you know what? Kirk's going to be my quarterback moving forward. It just didn't make sense to pull the trigger that soon, because now where do you go from there? Say Kirk goes in there, maybe he gets injured or he doesn't perform well. What do? You go to Colt McCoy then, or do you go to Robert? You've destroyed this man's confidence already, because one minute you tell him he's going to be your starting quarterback, you're going to give him the opportunity to be the starter going into 2015. You'll start the season off with him, and then the next minute you're saying, no, we changed our mind. We're going to go with Kirk.
Yeah.
So it would have made sense to at least start the season off, give him a few games, and see whether you like what you saw in terms of, okay, maybe he gets in the game, he's doing things a lot better. Regular season is a lot different intensity than preseason, things like that. There was no upside in pulling the trigger this early.
But they already made that determination. They based it off all the film, all the tape they've watched, not just this year but last year. They determined he couldn't do it.
But what come out in February? Why don't say in February?
He basically said it was BS.
Why not say we're going to hold an open competition at the quarterback
I
position?
understand.
He should have. He
He
should
should
have.
have. That was his
You're
mistake.
right. You're right.
Say that.
No, you're right, London.
We're going to hold open competition at the quarterback position.
But London,
all the
you're
guys that get opportunity.
You're discounting.
We'll go from there.
Discounting who his bosses are and how supportive his bosses are of Robert. It might not have always been Jay's call.
And I think London knows that it's always a competition, that you could be penciled in as a starter. Guys lose their jobs in training camp. It happens all the time. Happens all the time. Guys get outworked in the offseason, and they come back, and they play better in training camp or in the preseason, and they lose their jobs.
Yeah, look, Brandon Sheriff was slated to be the starting tackle. They drafted him. High potential, number 4 pick. He's supposed to be the right tackle. Then they saw him play and said, you know what, we got to move him inside.
Lost his job.
And
Right?
London, no matter what happens with Robert, I mean, Robert goes to another team and succeeds, that's fine. But that's why he has to go here, because you have to go forward with Kirk. And if Kirk doesn't work,
it's a difficult situation because you have Kirk. Okay, you say Jay says he's going to be the starter for 2015. You know, take that with a grain of salt, whatever it's worth. Maybe it's a public vote of confidence for Kirk Cousins, so he doesn't go in there and feel like his leash is going to be short. But there's always going to be the elephant in the room with Robert being there. I mean, he's there. You know, he's a polarizing figure for some reason in Washington. I mean, it's just it's always going to be a conversation. Well, what about Robert Griffin? You know, so all right, well, do the man a favor, give him an opportunity to go somewhere else. And we understand, he's injured right now. You can't release him injured, but once he becomes healthy, maybe you look at moving him in, trading him.
Mm-hmm.
London, can I throw out a hypothetical your way? So let's say you're
Sure.
36 years old, last couple seasons probably in the NFL, you're playing with the Redskins. You tear your ACL, you're out for that year. They had drafted somebody to play your spot, somebody who had potential. So he plays that year, filling in for you. You come back, you're healthy, you're better than him. Should they play that guy over you because they invested in him?
Why should they? If I'm 36 years old, coming off a torn ACL, why would they even bring me back?
Because DC fans want you back on the field, and because you're the best tackler in the game.
What is your point?
My point
your
is,
hypothetical doesn't make sense, man.
No,
Your
my point
hypothetical
is you
makes no
don't just
sense.
play a guy forever because he has potential. You play the better guy, and what this team determined is they believe Kirk is the better guy.
Well, then say that from the beginning. Say that in February.
Well, they just
Say
lie. You know they lie. They lie all the time.
Say that in February. But, it's just you created more drama by doing this the way that it was handled.
Agree with
But
that.
you know what could have
Agree with
quelled it?
that.
You know what could have quelled it? If RG3 played better last year. And last year, when he did have an opportunity, given starts, 4 touchdowns, 7 picks, 9 fumbles.
Yeah, you're right about that. So, essentially, he did nothing to earn. He didn't earn the right for Jay to come out and say, in February,
Right.
he's my starting quarterback.
Right.
So don't say that.
Oh,
Right.
look,
Let's have an open competition.
we agree, but for some reason, and we think we know why, Jay Gruden didn't. Because of his bosses. His bosses wanted him to say.
Would it be fair
Hey,
to say
London,
that?
would you hold on?
Are you discounting
London,
that?
London, we want to keep talking to you. Will you hold on and we do a second segment with you?
Is that cool?
How much you gonna go ahead, man?
All right.
I'm
Stay
not-
on
We're
hold.
going to come back
If
with
you
more.
don't want to,
This
it's
is
fine.
fun
You don't have
with
to.
you. You know
Stay on
what?
hold. It is
It's
fun.
London
though.
Fletcher,
Stay on hold.
former Redskin middle linebacker, one of the greatest Redskins of all time. We'll be back with more. Don't go anywhere. Talked to RG3 yesterday after the decision was made, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you
All right,
guys
so
are
you communicated.
boys.
I wanted to ask you. This is a crazy theory, but by chance are you?
So you guys, you're under the thought that I'm
Look, if bias,
against Kirk Cousins. Like I
No.
don't like Kirk Cousins.
No.
I think
No.
Kirk
We just
Cousins-
don't think that.
You're more
You're just pro-
RG than
you're
you
pro
are
Robert.
anti.
I would like to see the Redskins give Robert a true chance to see if he can be the quarterback of the future. Yeah, think about it. They haven't had a franchise quarterback in 30 years. I don't know. When was the last time Theismann played here?
right?
It's a long
So-
time ago.
You're right.
Otherwise you just keep repeating the cycle.
Yeah,
Keep
we
repeating
agree.
the cycle.
Let me ask you
So-
this.
Well, they feel like they swung and missed.
So are you would you give him 50 starts? Would you give him 60 starts? I mean, how
Right.
many until you know what you have?
He said 4 or 5 this season, I think.
I would say 4. I said because you're at a point where 4 or 5 starts this season. Hey, all right, either you like what you see or you don't like what you see. All right, Kurt, it's your turn. they're both going to be essentially free agents. Kurt Copeland will be a free agent. So all three quarterbacks,
right?
Believe it or not, unless Robert got injured, would be free agents, next year. I know they exercise the option, but they haven't. That's for injury only.
Right.
Right.
Hey, this is
Where
a
that is
side
guaranteed.
story. London, this is a side story, admittedly. And in the grand scheme of things, doesn't mean much. I don't know if you followed the Instagram flap. Do you believe Robert Griffin III that he has an intern who does some of his social media who liked this Instagram post blasting the organization but praising Robert?
Do I believe he has an intern?
Yeah, that handles his.
I'm sure he does. He was a superstar. He got a lot of stuff going on. When my communication with Robert, he's gonna be the best team that he can be moving forward. He knows it's not the ideal situation. He's not happy about what happened, but he's not going to create a situation where he goes out and likes a post that's disrespecting the Redskins and applauding him. That doesn't make sense for him to do that. Not at this point, right now. He's in a lose-lose situation by doing that.
All right. Can you tell us this? It's obviously a private conversation, so you may not want to talk about it, but does he feel like he wants to get out of town immediately to give himself?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. He doesn't want. He has the mindset that he wants to make it happen in D.C. If I was him, I would want out.
Right. So he still believes he can be the starter here and win.
Yeah, he does. He still believes that. But if I was him, I would want out. That's just me.
Right.
When you look at everything that's transpired. But again, you're talking about a competitor. He feels like, hey, let's give me another opportunity to compete, and I can make things happen. So
put yourself in the role of a Redskins receiver right now. I want London Fletcher to be Deshaun Jackson, Pierre Garçon, Jamison Crowder, any of the guys. Who do you want your quarterback to be on week 1?
I want the one who's going to give me the best chance to win. That's the main thing. Now,
Right.
we're talking about two different things right here. What I'm saying is, from a future quarterback standpoint, franchise quarterback standpoint, is Robert your franchise or not? That's what they needed to find out.
Right. I think they
They
decided.
determined.
Kurt has looked better in the preseason.
Yeah.
Kurt has looked better in the preseason.
But by the
Running
way,
that offense, Kurt has looked better.
But
By the
London,
way-
the question you're asking, Eric's going crazy.
keep getting talked
Eric,
over.
Well, hold on, I'm sorry.
Eric, I want Eric to have another hissy fit.
All right, hold on a
I
second.
might.
I'm
It's
just
coming.
gonna,
Tantrum.
I'm just going to answer your question.
Yeah, have a tat.
Hold on,
How's that
London.
defense looking?
All right, London, hold on.
I don't think it looks very good.
Hold on, London. So you're
No,
asking.
they look better.
Oh my God.
Go ahead. Jason,
What's up?
please, you got to finish it.
I'm trying. London. The question you're asking is they have to figure out if Robert is
They
the
have to
franchise.
figure out if Robert is the franchise
And the
quarterback.
answer is they've already figured it
Right,
out.
and they're not saying that Kirk is the franchise.
Right.
They're just saying Robert's not. We need to move on. We need to give the team the best chance to win. And my biggest beef with what you said in the last segment was
We're gonna win. We're gonna win what? We're gonna win 5 games
you don't
instead of
know.
8 games.
You don't know.
no, they might win 8
They're not
instead of
gonna.
5.
They're not gonna overtake the Dallas Cowboys or the Philadelphia
You
Eagles.
may
I
be
agree.
right.
They're just not.
You may
I
be right, but
agree.
it might not all be on
They're
Kirk.
not gonna make the playoffs.
I agree.
But
I
maybe
agree.
they
None of
get
us are
better.
saying
But they need to move on from a guy they've seen him play 37 times, 35 starts. They've seen him in the training camp. They've seen him in the offseason. They're in the film room with him. They watch the same repeated mistakes. I assume you respect Brian Mitchell's view on this. Brian says Robert's making high school mistakes at the quarterback position. High school level mistakes. They're ready to move on from it. That's not fair? London?
Listen, Brian Mitchell says one thing today, he'll say something tomorrow. I'm friends with Brian, love
let me
Brian.
ask
He
you
has a
this.
comment.
Right.
I think you haven't. 2015 has not even started.
Yeah.
Right, thank God.
It hasn't started. The regular season has not started.
Right.
London,
and you make a decision. What happens if Kirk doesn't play well? Then what do you do?
We're screwed.
Don't you trust
We're screwed.
the
What do you do? What do you do? What do you do?
You
tell me what you do. If he doesn't play well, what do you do?
Here's what the Redskins are doing.
What's the recourse?
Here's what they're doing.
What do they do?
They're trusting.
What are they going to do? You tell me what they're going to do.
I'll tell you what I'm trying to.
What are they going to do?
They're going to trust Scott McCloughan
He's just
to
messing with us now.
rebuild the roster. And he has deemed at this point.
No, I'm talking about this year. What are you going to do at the quarterback position?
6 or 7 wins.
They might
so
give
let's
Kirk
think
the
about
whole
this.
season.
All right, the Washington Redskins, first 4 games.
Yep.
Miami Dolphins.
Yep.
They got a top flight defense, right?
Yeah. No, they're going to be a struggle there.
St. Louis Rams.
They always
Very good
struggle
defense.
against the Rams.
Yep.
The Giants, they suck. And then they play who they play
Eagles.
in 4 games.
Eagles.
They're going to go 1-3 in that stretch.
So they're going to go 1-3 more than likely.
You don't know that.
You think that what if Kirk gets off to a bad start?
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to bench him?
How
What
bad?
if he throws 10 interceptions in those 4 games?
They might bench him.
What is the recourse at the quarterback position?
But they don't think he will.
Then you bench him, and who do you put in?
You go to Colts.
They go to Colts. They don't think that Robert will do any better.
You're going to put in a perennial backup
Yes.
as your next guy.
Yes.
And then what?
Well,
And then what?
Then you sign somebody off the street because
it'll be one of those
RG3
two.
won't be on the roster at that
Man,
point.
you sound like an idiot.
No,
right now.
but London, this would have
makes
been an
no
issue.
sense.
This would not have been an
Makes
issue if
no
Robert could
sense.
play.
That's why you start the season off, you give Robert a chance to start those games.
Why?
Then if he doesn't work, you go to Kirk then.
But he's not any good.
Did
But they
Robert
already
You're not going to be able to. You're not going to be
London.
able to go back to Robert with the way you've handled this situation.
They don't want to go back to
You
Robert.
just can't too.
London,
You can't do it.
London, here's what you don't understand. They don't want to go back to Robert. They're over him.
They don't think he's
He'll
any good.
They don't want
He'll
to.
never play another down for the
If
Redskins.
Jay Gruden had his way, he would cut him.
I understand what you're saying, London.
If Jay Gruden, listen, Jay Gruden doesn't have a clout to cut somebody.
I agree.
What has he done?
I
What has
agree.
he done?
I agree
He doesn't
with
have
you.
a clout to cut anybody.
I agree. If he did, though, he would cut him.
He doesn't have it.
I agree.
He won how many games last year?
So hold on. Do you think that Robert?
How many games did he win last year?
4.
He has no clout to cut to Robert Griffin.
Do you think?
He doesn't have
maybe
that.
Scott McCloughan does. Maybe Scott
I agree
McCloughan
with
does.
you.
London,
So-
let me get my question out. Good Lord.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you think Robert will be on this roster for the Redskins for the entire year?
It's going to be tough to say. I think once you get around the trade deadline, that'll be the interesting take. You know,
No
because
one's going to
obviously,
trade for him.
Who's going to trade for Robert?
They don't want that contract.
if he changes his contract, somebody can trade for him. Where
Okay, all
they
right.
take out the
That's fair.
the 50-year guarantee.
Is that something?
that's
Is that
fair.
something, is that
There's
something he's willing to
possibility.
do?
I don't know.
Is that something he's
I
willing
don't
to
know.
do?
Again, he wants to stay in D.C. He's of the mindset that he can make it happen in D.C.
Well, then he's delusional because he's had his chance and it hasn't happened.
Right. All right.
I mean, hey, man, you know, when you fall in love with a place, you have to think about it. You all, I don't know if you're married, you fall in love with somebody, you're going to make it happen. You want to make it work, through thick and thin, good times and bad times. But,
right.
Or you get divorced.
Robert.
Like half the people in the country do.
Robert's got a nice little
Hey,
property
man,
out there in
hey.
Creighton Farms.
Yeah.
listen, I just don't think, me personally, I don't think it's over with for Robert in D.C. as far as being on the roster. I mean, you're talking about the Redskins.
Okay. God bless you.
Crazier things have happened.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Think about it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Not as crazy as this interview.
This is the craziest.
Hey, hold on. Can I
Why?
ask?
Because I don't take your crap?
No, I think
I
it's
like
great.
it.
I think
like
it's fun.
it.
I think it's fun.
I would still want him to comment on other parts of the
No,
roster.
you know what? No, let's go. Let's talk about some of the other guys.
Yes,
let's talk
thank
about
you.
the good things in
I want to
Washington.
ask you. I want to ask you about Matt.
I like Matt Jones. I like
Right.
Matt Jones.
Do you think at some point he could actually supplant Alfred this season as a starter?
I wouldn't. Alfred is a gamer, man. Alfred is the consummate pro.
Okay.
You know, he goes about his business. He keeps his head down. He works. Alfred Morris is going to get you, probably 1,200 yards this year. So I don't think he'll supplant him. Whether he'll start to get more carries, I don't think it'll be a total split in carries. That's not going to happen. But that roster. The way the running backs look, the receivers look. I like what they've done to develop the roster, getting the defense a lot better. I like the young playmakers they have at the linebacker core.
Do you like
Keenan's
Murphy?
look good.
Do you like Trent Murphy?
Murphy hasn't shown me enough yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
what about Preston Smith?
I like Preston Smith.
You like
him?
I
like Preston.
What
I
about,
like Preston Smith.
What about the inside guys, Riley and Keenan?
He likes Keenan.
I like both of those guys.
What about
Ryan?
Ryan?
Those guys are Ryan. Ryan's the best player on the team, I think.
Right.
So Ryan or Trent. So those two guys are probably the best two players on the team. But you look at Perry, you look at Keenan.
Mm-hmm.
Those two guys, it's going to be on them to take over the defense, be the true leaders of the defense, and the way they've been playing in the preseason, attacking, making plays. I like the defensive front. The defensive front is allowed to penetrate, create havoc in the opponent's backfield. They've done a really great job of stopping the run. So there's some good things that are happening in D.C. Scott has done some good things, making the roster better. So there's some things to like in D.C.
Well, special teams took a couple of hits though with Niles.
Special teams is atrocious still.
Yeah.
Would you recommend? Do you think the Redskins would look into signing Lorenzo? He's 32.
I know they said they want to get younger, but hell, you won't have anybody better on that roster that can play special teams like the one-man gang. Why not sign him?
Right. I happen to agree with you.
He can do that. And not only that, he sets a tone for the unit. He's a leader on that unit. You have to have some boy dogs on your team. You have to have some boy dogs at the special teams unit. And you lose Niles Paul, you lose Hayward. So who's the next? I know DY. Can be another guy that can make some plays on the special teams unit. But you don't have enough boy dogs and leaders to teach the young guys. Okay, this is how we practice on the special teams unit. This is how we look at film and things like that. You need some guys like that. So Lorenzo, I spoke to him yesterday. He would love to come back to DC, and play for the Redskins. That was that would be a great fit because he would shore up that unit.
Yeah, I
so
agree
London, can you come on maybe next week and argue with us again?
We like it.
Or maybe the week after the Dolphin game, maybe after week 1.
Yeah, let's evaluate Kirk's performance.
We'll do that. But listen, I want to see Robert have an opportunity to excel or not excel. Just give him a chance and see what happens at the start of the season. But Jay, made this choice, made his decision. I hope it works out for him. I like Kirk Cousins. I'm sorry. I like Kurt Warner too. But I want things to happen for the Redskins. I want them to play well. Shit, you think I want to be miserable every Sunday too?
Right.
Well, you're going to be hosting that other pregame show. Debuts Sunday, September 13th, 9 a.m. Check it out on CBS Sports Network.
All
Thanks,
right, thank you, London.
Thanks,
We'll get you
London.
on in a few weeks.
All right, guys.
All right, buddy.
All right. You know what?
It's London Fletcher.
That's
wild.
wild.
Let's open up the phones.
He's crazy,
Can we
but
just do
I enjoy that.
A quick reaction.
Sparring.
You can call us
I enjoy that.
800-636-1067. Love your take on the phone lines. What'd you think of our two-segment interview with London Fletcher?